1 year later. The screen fades in from black, revealing the house, now abandoned and overgrown with thick vines and weeds. The property has been untouched since the collapse, with no one daring to step foot on the land. The fog rolls through the woods as the camera pans over the broken windows, shattered roof, and crumbling walls. A "for sale" sign stands crooked near the driveway, but it's clear no one has even considered buying the place. Suddenly a new car pulls up to the entrance. A sleek, black SUV. The camera zooms in, and we see Lisa, a real estate agent, stepping out of the vehicle. She's professional, determined, and oblivious to the house's dark history. Lisa examines the property from the outside, taking notes on her phone, shaking her head at the state of disrepair. She has no idea what happened here last year, no knowledge of the shadows or the pit. To her, it's just another property to renovate and sell. She walks up to the front door, which hangs loosely on its hinges, and steps inside, coughing as the dust swirls around her. As Lisa moves through the house, taking photos and jotting down potential improvements, the atmosphere changes. The temperature drops, and an unsettling silence fills the air, just like before. She notices the dark corners, the long shadows stretching unnaturally, despite the weak light filtering through the broken windows. She hears a faint whisper. Dismissing it as wind, she continues working. As Lisa enters the living room, she notices something odd. The floor, which had collapsed in the center of the room where the pit once was, has been eerily repaired. The boards are freshly laid, but they look warped, like something is wrong beneath them. She steps closer, her curiosity piqued. The whispering grows louder now. Faint, indistinct voices swirl around her, and she starts to feel uneasy. Her breath becomes visible in the cold air, and she glances around, starting to feel as though she's not alone. "Hello?" she calls out, but her voice echoes back to her. The house is still, too still. Then suddenly the shadows begin to move. At first it's subtle, a flicker in the corner of her eye, but soon the shadows start to stretch and twist, reaching toward her, just as they did with Emily and Tom. They whisper her name, faintly at first, then louder. Lisa backs up, her heart pounding in her chest. "Who's there?" she yells, but no answer comes, only the deafening silence and the growing movement of the shadows. She stumbles over her own feet and drops her phone. As she reaches down to pick it up, a figure appears in the corner of the room. At first it's just a silhouette, but as it moves closer, the figure becomes clearer. It's Tom. His face is pale, his eyes hollow and dark. He stands there, silent, staring at her, but something is off. His movements are unnatural, almost as if he's a puppet being controlled by something unseen. Lisa gasps, stepping back. "Tom?" she asks, recognizing him from a news story she had read about the incident. Tom doesn't respond. Instead, he slowly raises his arm, pointing toward the floor beneath her feet. She looks down, and her stomach drops. The floorboards are shifting, warping, just like the journal had described. The pit is reforming. Panicking, Lisa turns and runs toward the front door, but it slams shut before she can reach it. The house groans and shifts around her, as though it's alive, trapping her inside. The whispers grow louder, more insistent, and the shadows begin to wrap around her legs, dragging her back toward the center of the room. She screams, clawing at the floor, but the pit beneath the boards opens wider, the same writhing shadows from before surging up toward her. Tom watches from the corner, his eyes empty, his expression blank. as Lisa is slowly pulled toward the pit. The last thing she sees before darkness consumes her is Tom's face, expressionless, as if he's been trapped by the house for all eternity. The screen fades to black, and the sound of Lisa's final scream echoes into silence. A few seconds pass before the screen fades back in. It's night now, and the house is quiet once again, shrouded in the same eerie fog that surrounded it in the beginning. The camera pulls back, revealing the house in its entirety, standing as ominous as ever. In the distance, a pair of headlights cut through the fog. Another car pulls up, stopping in front of the house. This time, it's a group of people, friends, curious about the haunted house they've heard about in town. They laugh and joke as they step out of the car, unaware of the horror that awaits them inside. The camera zooms in on the house once more, its dark windows watching, waiting. The final shot lingers on the front door, which creaks open just slightly, as though the house itself is inviting them in. The screen cuts to black, and the credits roll, leaving the audience with the haunting realization that the cycle of terror will never end. The new visitors. The headlights cut through the fog as Mark, Sarah, and Jason pull up to the infamous house. They're three college friends who have heard the rumors, stories about the old haunted place deep in the woods. None of them believe the tales, though they've all heard whispers about people disappearing here. The atmosphere inside the car is casual and lighthearted. Mark, the skeptic of the group, scoffs as they park. Come on, it's just an old house. There's no such thing as ghosts. Sarah, on the other hand, is slightly unnerved. She's read stories online about the house and feels uneasy, but she doesn't want to be the only one too scared to go in. Jason, the bravest of them all, is the first to suggest they explore it. It'll be fun, Jason says with a grin. We'll make a quick video, maybe find some cool old stuff, and we'll be legends. People will love this. They get out of the car, their flashlights cutting through the mist. Sarah hesitates as she stares up at the house, its looming structure casting an ominous shadow over them. The front door is slightly open, as though inviting them inside. Did someone leave the door open? Sarah whispers, feeling her stomach tighten with unease. Mark laughs. Relax. Probably just the wind. They step onto the porch, their footsteps heavy on the creaking boards. As they push the door open wider and walk inside, the old wood groans beneath their feet, the air thick with dust and the smell of damp decay. Jason shines his flashlight down the hallway, catching glimpses of old furniture draped in cloth and broken mirrors reflecting twisted shadows. Look at this place, Jason says, his voice echoing in the silence. Creepy, huh? Sarah shivers, rubbing her arms as the temperature inside seems to drop several degrees. I don't like this. Suddenly, Mark's phone vibrates in his pocket, thus startling them all. He pulls it out and frowns. No signal, he mutters. How about you guys? Sarah checks her phone. Nothing. Jason shakes his head. We're probably too deep in the woods. The three continue exploring, moving deeper into the house. They joke to ease the tension, but none of them can shake the feeling that something is watching them. As they move through the hallway, Sarah spots a staircase leading down. There's a basement, she whispers, her voice tight with dread. Mark, eager to prove nothing's wrong, grins and steps toward the stairs. Let's check it out. No, Sarah says quickly. Let's not. There's something wrong here. I can feel it. Jason, always the adventurer, shrugs. Come on, Sarah. It's just an old house. What's the worst that can happen? Reluctantly, Sarah follows as they descend the narrow staircase. The air grows colder, thicker with the scent of mold and rot. At the bottom, they find themselves in a vast, dark basement, lit only by their flickering flashlights. At the center of the room, the floor is uneven, warped in a way that makes them all pause. "What the hell?" Jason mutters, shining his light on the strange bulge in the floorboards. "Is that—" Sarah starts, but her voice trails off as the shadows in the room begin to move. The temperature plummets, and the air seems to vibrate with a low, almost imperceptible hum. The shadows twist and stretch across the walls, forming dark, clawing tendrils. Slowly they begin to creep toward the trio. "Guys, we should go," Sarah says, her voice trembling now. Something's not right. But before they can react, the floor beneath Jason splits open, revealing the dark pit that had once consumed Emily and nearly claimed Tom. Jason stumbles, his flashlight tumbling from his grip as he loses his balance. Mark grabs Jason's arm, pulling him back just in time, but the shadows are faster. They surge up from the pit, wrapping around Jason's legs, pulling him toward the darkness. Jason screams, struggling against the unseen force. "Help! Help me!" Sarah shrieks, grabbing Jason's other arm, but the shadows are relentless, dragging him closer to the edge. His terrified face is illuminated by the flickering light of Mark's flashlight as the shadows slowly pull him into the pit. "Jason!" Mark yells, pulling with all his strength, but it's no use. With one final, horrifying pull, the shadows drag Jason into the pit, his scream echoing into the darkness. The pit closes behind him. Mark and Sarah stare in horror at the spot where Jason disappeared. The house begins to shake violently, the walls cracking as the shadows swarm around them. Mark grabs Sarah's hand, pulling her toward the stairs. "We have to get out of here," Mark yells, his voice barely audible over the groaning of the house. They race up the stairs, the shadows following them, stretching and whispering their names. As they reach the front door, it slams shut, trapping them inside. The walls seem to close in, the house shifting and warping as though it's alive. "Help! Somebody help us!" Sarah screams, banging on the door, but there's no one around. The house is isolated, and the fog outside muffles all sound. The whispers grow louder, filling their ears, clouding their thoughts. Mark's eyes widen as he glances at the windows. There's no way out. Suddenly, Sarah feels something cold and wet wrap around her ankle. She looks down, seeing a tendril of shadow slithering up her leg. She screams, trying to shake it off, but it tightens its grip. Mark turns, trying to help her, but the shadows are everywhere now, surrounding them, pulling them toward the center of the room. In one last, desperate effort, Mark grabs a chair and smashes it through a window. The glass shatters, and for a moment, it seems like they might escape. But just as they turn toward the window, the shadows pull them both to the floor, dragging them back into the heart of the house. Their screams fade as the camera zooms out, showing the house from the outside once more. Silent, foreboding, and shrouded in mist. The final shot lingers on the shattered window, the only sign that anyone had ever been there.